So is anyone else here? Or I don't know. Don't see anyone in the studio or nothing. Don't see Dorito Boy. Let's see. Oh, so there's that stuff. Yeah. I don't know. Yes, Mr. Washington isn't around right now or something. Are we playing with his ants?
Am I late?
A little
Sorry.
bit.
I was getting my cardigan out of the wash. So, and my matching hat and pipe. Since we're going to be talking so sophisticated tonight, I thought I would get classy.
Of course.
I thought I would get classy with my T-shirt and my cardigan and my newly done tattoos. Thanks for helping me fix that earlier. That was good.
Yeah, sure.
Some pod life. I actually want this tattoo. That would be dope.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, guys, I apologize. It was like second-rate stuff. So I was going to get pod life across my forehead and then Juglone here, but my daughter put our makeup markers in the toilet. So speaking of toilets, Kevin Nasser, welcome to the show again. We are going to talk about Dookie beetles today. So I'm excited for this. Oh, it can't be in full screen. Sorry. We've been meaning to do this for a little bit now. So, and you have some for us to see, right? Oh, the lighting is awesome.
Yes, sir. I have Fannius vindex, and I also have Canthon imitator, both U.S. natives. But good, interesting thing about them. So they're both each one is a different group of dung beetle. So you have 4 groups of dung beetle. You have your rollers, which are telecopterids. They're the ones people think of. They roll the big poop balls, bury that down, deposit an egg, and that's what their grubs live on and emerge from.
Yeah.
Then you have your burrowers. Sometimes they're also called tunnelers. Those are your endocopterids. So they'll see a huge mountain of dung in the wild, dig a tunnel underneath it, bring that down into it with them and make their ball underground, and then deposit their egg. Then you have your dwellers, which are paracopterids. Those guys, they just see a patty sitting on the top, deposit an egg, and call it a day. Just let it do its thing. And then, yeah.
Fatty. Just see a fatty.
That's it. They just see that nice steaming mound and just time to drop one in there, you know? Each his own, I guess. Then you also got the Winona riders of the dung beetle group, and they're called kleptocopterids. So they go out, they see the rollers, telecopterids making their big balls of poo and dirt, sand. And as they're right before they take it away, the kleptos will come in, steal that, bury it down for themselves, and deposit their own egg. Or they'll even steal ones from paracopterids sometimes, and they'll deposit their egg, and their larva will hatch and eat either the egg or the other larva that's in there. Like, they're ruthless when it comes to that. It's kind of amazing.
So they're like the cuckoo bird version of the dung beetle.
Exactly. Now all 3 of them are awake and moving. So let me show you these guys so I can put them back before they all try flying off. So dung beetles are all part of the scarab family. So they all have that sleek look to them. They're really nice and interesting. They all have this shovel-shaped head. But this guy right here is Canthon imitator. They play dead as well, like blue-finning death beetles when disturbed. This one, they're really good flyers, but this is also considered a telecopterid. These guys will roll balls of feces and then bury it down into the substrate and let their babies do their thing. So this is a female Fannius vindex, the ones everybody goes crazy over. See its little antenna? Those orange dots, those are actually really sensitive, basically like radars for them. They used to pick up the sense of feces in the air, fly out, go take care of business. Sense. But you can tell this one's a female. Now it's going to act up. You can tell this one's a female because the absence of the horn on top. Whereas we have this guy, which is known as a major male because of how large his horn is. And there we go.
Look at that thing. It's like a bottle opener.
Yeah, massive horn. That's what makes him a major. If it was shorter, half that size, that's what you consider a minor male. And
Okay.
then recently, according to Steve Barney and Orrin McMonagle, they wrote the book on rearing and keeping scarabs such as these. They said that in the wild, there's also a type where now they're finding it has no horn whatsoever, but not really sure why that one started to come about, but doesn't really seem to interfere with anything in the wild. They're all still
Weird.
mating fine and really doesn't seem to cause much of a difference. I'd keep
bet it's
my
like
group communally, and the males
my
don't.
money. Oh, see, they don't even fight?
No, I've never seen the males fight. They
That's
all
wild.
sit there, I'll dump in the poo, and they all kind of rush together and just go for it.
That wrecks my theory of the no horn. My theory of the no horn was that they were like female impersonators, so they could get at the females without competition. So that was my theory. It might be
Yeah,
true,
there are.
but if they don't
I'm not
fight,
sure about beetles. I know there are other animals in the wild that do that. I forgot what it's called, actually. There's a specific term, but can't think of it right now. But yeah, as far as I know, these guys don't do that.
if you guys know, put it in the comments. I know somebody's Googling that right now. The beetle guys here. I can't get over how pretty they are. So you have like, they're in the worst possible like biome that I could think of, and they're just gorgeous beetles. Like they're just, that's
Yeah,
the one.
you think of a dung beetle, you're thinking of like the ones that look like the canthon, just black, maybe, doo-doo brown.
Yeah.
But you're not thinking of something that's literally this super metallic, beautiful insect.
Yeah, it seems like they would be like easy prey because they're easy to find.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know what that adaptation is about, but maybe it keeps it from sticking to them or something. I don't
Not
know.
really sure. They're also amazing flyers. They kind of sound like little drones in the house. Like during the day, females especially. If I'm not quick enough to put dung in there, you just hear that. It's really heavy. I can hear it from all the way across the room.
That's
It's
wild.
kind of impressive for how small they are.
That's wild. I thought that was like exaggerated in the Planet Earth series or whatever. Because all I've seen till now are the ones in Africa with the elephant. They get in the elephant poop. That's the one that makes the news, right?
Yeah, of course.
Also, I think it's funny you keep saying dung instead of like dookie or poo-poos or whatever. Well, I could change your name. I forgot. To Dorito Boy. I was coming on and I heard you say Dorito Boy and started laughing. I was like, let's see where this goes.
Thought you'd like that one.
So, all right. So we have all kinds of different ones. So now, what type is the one with the horn? Like what type of poo gatherer are
So those guys are they're endocopterids. They're the burrowers. So they'll make the tunnel underneath the feces. Nice, just wipe my face with my hand. They'll make
with
the
dookie
tunnel
hands?
under the feces and then bring that down with them, make it into a ball. They mix it with a little bit of substrate. They deposit one single egg in there, and then as the larva hatches out and grows, it'll consume the feces itself as they have their little ball, and then they make their own pupal chamber with their own feces. And then after, I think it's about 2 months. I'm not entirely certain. I kind of didn't keep track of it when I had them emerging. I just collected them out the container, put them in a separate one so the females wouldn't feel overcrowded and they would continue to lay in the original. And then I kind of just let them do their thing until I heard the droning sound. And I was like, oh, time to move them back to the colony. But
So you
I
have
think
a
around
setup for
2
eggs.
months.
Yeah, you've got like a setup for eggs and then a setup for just the adults.
Yeah, so I have my main tub, and that's peat moss, a little bit of topsoil, because I didn't want to waste all my topsoil that I had left on them. So peat moss, a little topsoil, sand, and some clay. That's about 8 inches tall. I have had success with one tub that was around 6 inches, but it seems like the females are more willing to lay in the 8 inches. You want to compress that real tight. You can't make it too hard packed. Don't worry about that. But they go way down to the bottom to make their balls. And then if there's too many in there, the females will think that they're going to start competing for actual food. So they'll stop laying entirely. So that's why you have to dig them up every so often, take out your little brood balls, and just separate them to something else.
Nice, nice. So now, before we get too deep into this, I want to get the questions out there. So they're already firing them off in comments. So where do you source the poo?
All right, so I use my redfoot tortoise, my ball pythons, my rabbit. The rabbit is a huge contributor just because it's basically, they're poo factories, dude. It's just constantly shooting out. Then my wife also has some friends with horses, so there goes that. And
so you have a hookup. You've got the Juno hookup. Okay.
You need a constant supply of fresh. To answer Green Jedi, you need a constant supply of fresh dung on hand. After about a week, they won't really go for it. Like if you have nothing else in there, that's when you'll see them kind of pick out. But otherwise, nah, they won't touch that. So the adults actually live off the moisture that comes off the poo itself, because they'll take the nutrients that are dripping off. That's basically all they're consuming. And then the rest of it, the actual solids, they tear that apart, reshape it, and then deposit their egg in it. And that's what the larvae consume. So the whole life revolves around different aspects of poo. Goat would work fine.
I think that's funny. So if anybody's taking notes, so the adults eat poop soup and the babies go for poo stew. Like they want the chunks, right?
Yeah, the baby's like a heartier meal, you know? Who doesn't want to sink their teeth into something? Especially
you don't just want to slurp. You don't just be slurping.
Yeah, a little bit of second harvest never hurt anybody, right?
Second harvest. Where did I see that? Where was that from?
The League.
Yes, thank you. All right. That was bugging me. I'm like, I've seen that recently. I can rewatch that show. Like this is the third time, I think. You don't need to know about football to watch The League, guys. Go and watch it. It's dark. It's twisted. It's awesome. What was my next question? So you were talking about the ones who dig the tunnel underneath, pull the poop down. Mm-hmm. Then the baby lives in the ball, eats the poop until it's ready to pupate, and it makes the pupal chamber out of its own poop. So it's like a lifestyle. It's not just...
No, everything is poo. They're literally nature's ultimate recycling station.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're the true cleanup crew when it comes to that. There's even some species so basically anything that's in the scarab family can fall under the category of dung beetle, but you have Scarabidae, which are dung beetles, and then you have Scarabinae, which are true dung beetles. There are dung beetles that eat detritus, like your rotting leaves and rotting wood, and those are Scarabidae. They're not considered the true dung beetles like these ones are, where they do nothing but poo. That's their life.
Then you have Scarabinae, which are the dancing dung beetles.
Yeah. They're the ones that you see out on stage.
Doing the nay-nay.
Yeah, you got to watch them whip for a while.
See, I'm just in charge of the jokes. You're throwing out a lot of Latin. I got to glaze over and come back with something. So we got the poops. We got all of that. 8 inches, stamp on it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Do you have a tub there? You can show us the tub real quick? Or no, your arm's jacked up. Don't do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't
Never
really
mind.
lift it right now, unfortunately.
Can you move your camera, or is it like a computer?
I can try. So,
don't mess up your arm for this.
All right.
Kevin jacked up his arm and is in PT, and I don't want him to scream.
So, let's see. Can you kind of see this? This Sterilite tub, and it's basically filled to the top.
Oh, yeah. That's decent ventilation, too.
Yeah, you don't want it to get too moist in there. Like I just missed it earlier today. That's why there's some condensation. That and fresh horse turds are kind of steamy. So that's why there's all that condensation built up. And before anyone asks, yeah, I usually have an air filter going on down here that has carbon and HEPA. Definitely helps. I turned it off right now so you don't hear that humming. And the smell is a little pungent in here.
Yeah, I appreciate that sacrifice that you made. Get your lady down there to move it around. Be like, get these out.
Yeah. Hey, Toots, get down here.
Hey, Toots. That's what I call my daughter. Since she was like 2 pounds. Which brings me to, where do you keep your tubs? Because
No, I just have them over here right now just so I could grab out the beetles easier. Normally, they're on my rack in a separate area where kind of the filter really takes care of it well. Otherwise, yeah, I used to have it just in my room or my animal room, just like kind of when you first walked in, and that wasn't gonna last too long. No way.
Oh my God, I can imagine with the other heaters and stuff going on in there.
Nah, keeping them in your bedroom wouldn't be the best idea unless, you don't mind the smell of like a horse stable or a goat stable in your case.
You could do like under the bed, like those rollout containers. You could probably do that. It might not be deep enough. You have to get those like stands for your bed. Get them under there. The Sterilites.
Just have them set up kind of shelves.
Little
poo platters under your bed.
Just keep them in the bathroom. They'll be like, it's so comfortable here. So we got, don't keep them too moist. That's good. Don't keep them in your bedroom. I had a question. The question just popped out of my brain again. This has been happening to me too much.
Really is horrible, dude. You just smell nothing but there's a lot of sheep farms in Greeley, Colorado. And as you drive through, all you get hit with is that smell. It's so gnarly. I lived in Fort Collins. When the wind blew through, people be like, oh, there goes Greeley for you, because the smell is just, oh my God, it's
just
so
from the
strong.
town.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's a lot of sheep.
Dude, it's horrible.
I lived in a town where there's a pig farm on the outskirts of town. And if you had to drive that way, it was like, there's nothing you could do. Like, it would stick to you, basically, just from that. I don't know where Greeley is. Yeah, it sounds awful. It sounds awful. So they don't need anything else. You can't really keep them with stuff, though, right? Like, they're not gonna.
Some people have kept the adults feeding dry dog food and just moistening it. That'll keep them alive for a little bit. But I've had some of my wild caught survive over a year with me, feeding actual dung, whereas I don't see anyone being able to do that with the dog food.
So it's just dung. And you
That's
haven't
all
tried,
I give them. I give them nothing else but dung.
And you haven't tried, like, in a pinch, like a human loaf? Like that.
I'm on medication for epilepsy, so I don't want to give that a shot with them. Yeah. I have thought about it. I mean,
the medication might be bad. Yeah.
I remember reading a report a few years ago with somebody who did keep them outdoors and would dump in a bag and give it to him, like himself. And he said that they really seemed to go for that. And when he didn't want to do it himself, he had a pig poo that he was using, and that seems to be their absolute favorite.
Pig poo. That's a big commit. I don't know there's anything more foul than pig mess. Like, I don't know, onion sheep poo. I don't know, man.
Yeah, the onion sheep. Oh man.
I don't know. I haven't experienced that, but the pig thing it's like nauseating to be around it. I can't imagine this,
I believe it.
Massive sheep farm. If you can smell it the next town over, that's bad times.
Literally, when the wind blows, like, oh man, everyone in Fort Collins said that. Like, when I first moved out there, I didn't know what it was, and like, oh, it's just Greeley. You'll get used to it.
If the wind is, oh yeah, that's the poo town. That's sheep town right there. Now you said you're 3. This is my question that I forgot already. They're native.
Yeah, the species I keep are native to the U.S. Yeah, so Phanius vindex, you can find in most states, ranging from the East Coast down to the southern states, all the way out to from New York to Colorado. You can pretty much find them. They're going to be more scarce here in New York, but they do go into a dormant period, from what I've read. And you can also find them out in the super dry plains of Colorado. So they're really tolerant of all different types of environments. And they're totally suited to just dig through some of the toughest terrain there is. And then the Canthon I got from a friend out in Texas. And again, really dry, arid environment. And she found those rolling some dog poo down the street.
They're just like, we got this. We
Yeah.
got this. Actually, that's a
She
good idea.
sends
For
me a
having
video.
dogs.
She's like, Kev, you want these? I was like, yep, send them my way.
You didn't have to ask. Here's my address.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's funny. That's just like me right now. Like people have messaged me like, hey, what's your address? And I'm just like, I just give it to them. I don't even ask why they want it. I just give it to them. And I've been getting boxes in the mail like the last 3 weeks. And my wife's like, what now? I don't even know. Let me open it. My daughter did away with, somebody got me some bug glasses. Like they're these big sunglasses with like multi eyes kind of thing.
The fly eyes where it's the different.
Yeah. So, but my daughter got a hold of them and I don't know where they are. She said she's going to find them, but that was a week ago. She's 5. Can't give her. So they're here somewhere. If it was you that gave them to me, anybody watching, thank you. I think it was Aunt Sandy's skinks, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, if you want my address, I'll just send it to you. I don't just message me. It's fine.
Answer green monkey. There's nothing too small, really. Like I said, well, I guess when it comes to the larger rolling species, but the Canton imitator I have, that's the rolling species that I have currently I'm working with. Those guys are not even a ½ inch. They're about 3/8 big. I mean, 3/8 to a ½ inch, we'll call that the large size. So them rolling away like 2 or 3 rabbit turds that they just mush together seems more than enough to satisfy them. I usually put in a good mound, or like I said, I dump in the horse bricks and they kind of just take care of it on their own, making it into whatever size they really can. They don't have an issue. I haven't dug through their tub yet to look for any brood balls. I was going to do that this weekend. Same thing with the Vindex. Figure by now it's a good chance. They're a good time to dig them up. I should have a good amount in there.
Nice. Hey to everybody who's watching right now. We just got Moon that popped in. So we got Revere. And is Revere one of your friends? Because I don't know who that is. I don't know that I've seen Revere show up. Maybe.
No, possibly.
I'm not good at this. Beetle, Jedi, Sandy. Who else we got? 503 Frank was here. And Coral. Nice. My whole crowd. These are my peeps. You talking about them rolling away 3 rabbit turds they mushed together made me think of the scene from Ghost, but then with 2 beetles, like with the clay.
That's exactly how it happens. They bust out their little pottery wheel. They put the arms over. Demi Moore's crying. That's exactly how it looks. Yeah, if you have a decent amount of morning gecko poo, just make it. What I do with the rabbits, I just soak it in water for like 10 minutes before I toss it in. And that's enough for them to just do their own thing with it. So if you have a little mountain of morning gecko turds, that'll probably work.
That's if you have a couple morning geckos, you're gonna have a mountain. That's awesome. Am I blocked up? You guys were like frozen out for a minute, but it was my internet.
Yeah, you froze for a little bit.
You can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was like, oh, good. Kevin's talking. This will be good. Yeah, I like the idea that they're a huge cleanup crew, but do you think if you have multiple animals, they'd be better just keep them in a bin and then just shovel the poop into their bin?
Oh, yeah. That's exactly how I would imagine it to work best, because during the day, they're constantly active. Their little feet, they kind of hurt because they just push through. To them, you're just another thing of dirt for them to kind of get into. So even when I'm holding it, they'll get like between my fingers and then just stab into my webbing, moving whatever they can to just kind of get through. So if you have them in an enclosure, especially with a softer bodied animal, there's a good chance they're going to get hurt eventually. So I would just suggest collecting everything and dumping it in there.
So it'd be like a compost pile situation more than
pretty much, yeah. Unless you have a really big enclosure, I can't really see them working out too well if you were just tossing it in.
Nice. What temps are that you keeping them at? Just like room temp?
Pretty much they're at room temp. My animal room stays around 75 during the day, gets down to about 72 at night, sometimes 70 during the winter, depending on if I'm cycling some of my animals. But yeah, like I said, they tolerate a range of different temperatures. So they'll really be fine as long as it's not less than 72, because the colder it is, that's when you'll see them slow down and think that they're going to have to go into a diapause. So if you keep them about room temperature, that's more than adequate.
Now, what is the have you actually gotten the 3 species that you have to breed?
I have 2 true dung beetle species, and
Okay.
then I have damn, I'm drawing a blank on the one species, the other species I have. Oh, I recently collected some larvae that I was found in some old poo that I was digging through for other animals, and those turned out to be grapevine beetles, which are another species of scarab, but they're not true scarabs. So the adults, they eat grape leaves, as the name suggests, and the larvae, they will eat aged manure and decaying wood, other detritus, but they really go for roots on plants. So they are considered somewhat of a pest, but they don't produce in numbers enough to really be considered a true pest. But yeah,
That's cool.
that would be the other. So technically, I have 4 species, but only 2 true dung beetles.
The 4th one sounds more like an opportunist than like.
Basically, yes, it's part of the Scarabidae, part of the Scarabidae, but it's not Scarabinae. So it's a dung beetle in the sense that it will eat dung in one of its life stages.
I will say the Latin people really screwed the pooch on this one to make it just 1 letter difference. That's not fair. And it kind of sounds the same. If you say it fast,
yeah.
you're going to have to be like, what? Wait, what? Is it nay or day?
Yeah, you get tongue-tied just trying to think about it.
Right? And then hope you have the right one in mind. I was trying to think of how I would do. I don't think I could do that. I don't think it's fair. I like the idea that there's so many beetles to take advantage of, because I know of a bunch of other beetles that like show interest in fecal matter, but not like make it their life. You know, it's not a lifestyle choice for them. It's just more opportunistic. Like, oh, it's here. I'm hungry.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whatever.
It smells right, so I'll give it a try. Kind of like a dog.
Yeah, or it smells wrong. I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
I didn't know they could eat dog poo, or like dog poo.
Yep.
That's funny.
Perpetual beetles. I feel like after
Perpetual?
a certain point, they would just lose nutrients and end up dying, but not a
Not
bad
if
idea.
Not if you butt load them. I mean, gut load them.
Butt load them, just boof them.
This got real weird real fast. Actually, I thought it would take a lot longer or be a lot quicker. What was I going to say? So the Beatles. What else have you got? It'll come to me.
Well, some of them fly really well, as I said before, and one of the more interesting things is those giant beetles from Africa that are taking down elephant turds.
Yeah.
They're really good flyers. And those guys, they almost rival Goliath beetles in size. In fact, I think some of them do get almost as big as Goliathus. Well, a smaller and Goliathus. But yeah, I mean, imagine something just covered in shit flying at your face.
Dude.
I can't really imagine that being a good way to have your day go.
I cannot get over the niches that beetles fill. But those giant dung beetles in Africa with the elephant turds, like I've only seen them on specials, right? So are beetles something like that you can ship in from overseas, or is it another?
So you can get permits to import them through Fish and Wildlife, and dung beetles are actually listed as beneficial species. So you can freely ship all species of dung beetle interstate without any requirements from APHIS. And they put that out in 2011, I believe. So it's not that long ago that they made this ruling. And yeah, as long as you file for your FWS permit to import, you find somebody who's willing to export with proper papers, yeah, you can get almost any species of dung beetle.
I feel like I would 100% like screen off part of that basement that you got there and just like have a colony of those guys.
I'm actually doing something. I got little things going in the works. I'm hoping to get some big guys like that. So hardest part right now is finding an exporter. I have one guy who's willing to do it. The problem is he can't always get them. It's whenever the hunters essentially decide, hey, we're going to go head up to this area. Maybe we'll bring back a bunch of these, but people don't really want them. So it's not worth it for them to go out looking for these. So
We'll get into it, guys. Listen, you can just get them. So get on board, get a big list together, send these guys a little bit of a tip, and we could get massive dung beetles out here and just see those at the show. Can you imagine that table? Can you imagine that table at a show? Oh my God.
I have a buddy in England who he was actually one of the people who was able to get them in, and when he was sending me photos of some of them, it's just like it puts you in awe because you can't imagine something that big just living out there, just taking down poo. It's like I can't fathom how it's able to get that much nutrients out of something that's already pretty digested, you know?
Well, and it's funny, like this is another reason I wanted to have you on to talk about these because there were a couple other people I could have talked to, like you said, Oren. And I've had Oren on the show before. I don't know who's the other guy that you mentioned because I don't know him.
Stephen Barney.
Stephen Barney. I've never heard of him yet, but sounds like a stand-up dude.
He's a big beetle guy as well.
Yeah. So one of the reasons, because I've seen you give a lot of like hard advice on insect husbandry on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
I'm always like, oh, is he going to make this
called
person
a prick
cry?
quite a few times lately.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that. Like, I get what you're saying because I know you, but yeah, you have a low tolerance for idiocy and the people that don't do their research, and I totally get it. Like, I'm on board. I'm a disciple of yours now. So, like, I feel like people need to be more harsh with these newbies that don't. They just buy a thing and hope for the best. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Yeah. I've been that person, and I'm guilty. Not anymore. So
it seems like the more of them coming in, they just have this closed mindset. It looks good. I want to put it in this tank, and I don't care what you said. I saw this other person who's had theirs for less than a month do this, so I'm going to go with that.
Yeah. So, but one of the things that you said, this was a while ago, this was at least 6 months ago, but you were talking to somebody about isopods. I think somebody was putting poop in their mix, some kind of manure or worm castings or something. And you were like,
guano, worm cast.
Yeah, but you were like, what kind of nutrients could an organism get from another organism's poo? And here we are. Kevin. What's up, prick? What do you got?
The guy's specially designed by nature to consume nothing but shit could absolutely benefit from non-processed shit. Non-processed meaning something that hasn't been heat treated to kill, once again, that I always talk about, the bacteria that aid these animals in digestion.
You want that bacteria, y'all.
I'm not going to take fucking plant food and expect my animals to do great on that. I mean, it's just stupid.
See, I just wanted that clarification. I knew you'd have it. I didn't know you'd get so angry, but I knew you'd have it.
What can I say? Talking about shit triggers me.
Again, why I had you back to talk about this specifically. Yeah, so you guys know anytime you post pictures of cool animals, I'm going to reach out and be like, hey, you want to come on and talk about that? Do you not know anything about those? Because that's fine. That's fine. I really like the passion. I really like the passion that you have for all these people because you, if you're not an expert on that species, I know for sure you've come at people where I know you're not like an expert on that species, but I know you know more than the basics. Like I would say advanced care, because a lot of it is kind of similar, but you show that it's not that hard to do your research and get it on there, because you could do it in 5 minutes and be like, okay, here's the thing. People just don't reach out. They don't do their due diligence.
Yeah, it takes no time to search on Google nowadays. Instead of Google, I suggest using Google Scholar, because that's how you get actual scientific papers. When I'm spitting out facts and arguing with people, that's my ammo. I'm using papers that scientists have studied, wrote down, and peer-reviewed and come up with the same results. That's what you want to argue with, not anecdotal evidence from my friend who has a YouTube page. No offense.
No, it's fine. Don't take advice from me. People always come to me for advice, and I'm like, did you see this episode? Because I don't know. This is why I have people on. I don't know. I would just do it myself if I knew the stuff. but I don't.
There
So
are some beetles that are vegetarians, or
I think he's talking about the poo-poo beetles.
oh,
Yeah, I think
actually, some species prefer herbivores, some prefer omnivores, some prefer predators. So really, it's kind of up to the individual species what they prefer. In my experience, the Vindex seems to prefer my tortoise first, and the horse
okay.
surprisingly towards the back end. It goes tortoise, and then rabbit, and then the pythons. They
Okay.
don't really seem too interested in my hognose. They'll eat that poo, but he doesn't make it in vast quantities. They kind of leave that on the back end, and they'll finish that off after they've taken whatever else I've given them that day. But
So it's like
yeah,
because it's there. Like you go in the fridge and you see like leftover gyro, and you're like,
yeah,
okay, we're out of other stuff. Like I guess
it's that like 2-week-old slice of pizza you found in the back and your fridge, and you're wondering if you should eat it. Eventually, you will. One
and
of
you
those
eat it.
things.
Then you're gonna make involuntary
You
food
don't
for
let
your
pizza
beetles.
go bad.
Who lets it go 2 weeks? Like if you're letting pizza go in 2 weeks, just unsub right now. Like we don't need you here. We know
It's a valid argument right there.
what kind of person are you? I mean, I know you eat New York pizza, but still eat it.
Yeah,
Eat
the
it.
pizza that you don't let sit more than a day because it's too good to let go to waste.
Do you mean because it turns back into cardboard? Is that what you
If
mean?
you can't fold a slice, you ain't got pizza, bro. It's your cardigan.
I'll tell you,
Your golfer hat.
Chicago. This is my awesome golfer hat.
You
I just got a
wanna be
haircut and
Tiger
it
Woods.
fits. No, I don't. You didn't even notice all my pins on there. I keep buttons on my hats because I'm cool. Got my own style. Once I turned
Yeah,
40, I just said the hell with it. I'm gonna do whatever I want. I'm gonna wear whatever I want. I want to look like a grandpa. I'm good.
yeah. As long as you're comfortable, right?
Yeah, I'm married now. Like I don't care. It's over for me. I'm good. I don't have to
Don't
put on
gotta
a
impress
show.
anybody.
No, I don't got to put on a show. This is what you get. Actually, this is my favorite cardigan. I wear this all winter long, especially down here. So I had it down here, and I was like, "Oh, Kevin's coming on. Let's cardigan it up."
Gotta send you a hoodie.
You can. We're gonna have some merch, so you can buy an ISO Buddies hoodie if you want. Not the pullover ones. So I know it's not a problem
Cardigans
for you, but
only?
they mess up your hair. Zippers only. We're gonna have cardigans.
Man.
We're not gonna have cardigans. We're gonna have hoodies.
Good thing I don't have Dorito fingers, getting stains on it.
My wife was so mad at me to find out I did that. She's like, "You can't handle that spicy food." I said, "It was one chip, and it was the very first one."
That was great.
Oh God, my face was so red. That was spicy business. But getting back, so what do you think? This is kind of above and beyond the whole keeping thing, but I know you do your research. So, what's your theory, or what have you read about the benefits of them just laying? This is a massive amount of work for one egg. Like they're digging a tunnel, they're pulling poop down, they're rolling it in a ball. They're hoping that one asshole version doesn't come steal it from them, or like its baby's going to eat their baby and then eat their poop and whatever. What is the benefit of having this per egg? Like that's a lot of work per egg, and beetles could probably lay like 60 eggs a day, right?
So the Vindex, or from what I've read, dung beetles don't lay nearly as many eggs as, let's say, like stag beetles will in comparison.
Sure.
Something that lays, 50, 60 eggs on average as compared to a dung beetle, which getting about 30 from 20 to 30 from the Vindex, from what I noticed my last time breeding them.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I feel like the way that they go about doing this is because, as I said before, there's already so much nutrient stripped from it by the time it's getting to them, that I feel like that's why they have to make these really big balls, and compared to the size of the actual egg. If you ever see it, the eggs are tiny, man. Like,
yeah,
they're maybe like the ball end of a pin, like a push pin, maybe that size, if not smaller. And they're putting it into something a little larger than a ping pong ball. And that's just for one egg. That's it. And then they'll move over to a decent way away. I never find them too close together.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
usually they'll kind of stagger them, especially, well, this is a smaller tub that I have set up. I have to move them to something else, but kind of injured, so can't really deal with all that right now.
Hey, man.
But they kind of stagger it in this setup from what I've seen the last time. I bred them up to second generation, and then I ran out of my source for poo to keep up with that. So I'm starting again with some fresh wild caughts. But I had them in something originally this size, my first guys. I had them some this size and then moved them up to larger. They did much better when I moved them up to the larger tub just because the females had more space to lay. They really don't like it crowded. And I think it's because they don't want the competition. Let's say one of the other beetles emerges out of its pupal cell before its neighbor. There's a chance, I'm guessing, that it might go over and either dig through and ruin that one or actually eat the ball. But again, like I said, seeing how they really don't touch the older feces, I think it's more just a hazard of them being burrowed through.
That makes sense because you said they'll just push right through your hand if they
They
want to
don't
get through it.
care.
They just start digging, right? Start clawing.
Yeah, they
So
don't. They try to get through anything. I used to have rocks and larger sticks in there for them to climb on. Now I just use leaf litter because they literally move everything. It doesn't matter how big it is, whether they're tunneling under it or physically coming up and moving it out the way. They're just little machines.
Wow, they're just bulldozers with that big shovel head. So that's so crazy. My theory, well, part of my theory about it, at least in the wild, is that, well, this would be for your wild caught ones too, that if the, like say, omnivore or something is coming around sniffing for food, if they find a cache of grubs in one spot, like that's going to make it a way bigger thing for them to search out rather than.
Yeah. If they find multiple, they're going to start rooting around there a lot more than if they just get that one. So, yeah.
Like one every 10 feet. There's one every 10 feet. Like, man, this sucks for one grub. Like, I got to dig through.
Not worth it.
Yeah, I got to dig through poo and dig up the whole savanna. Like, F this, I'm out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to go dig up some
keep their numbers.
Yeah. Eat some grass. I'm going to turn into a cow and eat grass. This is way better. So, I just think they're so cool. So when they're adults, how long are they living as adults?
Anywhere from 8 months to about 1.5 years from what I read. Like I said, so far the oldest wild caught I've kept survived over 1 year with me. So I'm going to say it takes probably around 3 to 4 months for the whole cycle from egg to them emerging as an adult. So it's at least 4 months old plus however long it was out being active for before I got it. So for it to live over 1 year means I either got it when it was really freshly emerged or they can live a pretty good length as an adult, comparatively speaking to other beetles,
Yeah. I hate all these great insects and crustaceans that live like 1 year or like an octopus. Like they're such fascinating creatures. And I feel like 1 year is not long enough.
No, not at all.
Like the desert ones, the death feeding beetles live a damn long time. Like, isn't it like 15 years or something?
With proper care, yeah, they can easily live over 1 decade. But that's another animal where most of them are coming in wild caught. So even if you have everything perfect, don't expect them to live that long because you don't know how old they are when you got them. That's the biggest issue when it comes to beetles and wild caught. It's a crapshoot, especially with some of the other like flower beetles and stuff, and those ones where they're really beautiful, but they only have a short amount of time where it comes from them emerging, becoming active, being in the breeding stage, and then just them being a senior about to die. Wild caught animal, really don't know which end you're going to get. You could be lucky, get the one where it's nice, freshly emerged, good to go, or it could be you got one kind of on the short end of the stick there.
Those I feel like they, well, a lot of the beetles actually, they have them where they're captive bred, but not in as big in numbers as it is to just catch them.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's just so many. Like, I still can't get over it. This was like Beetle Month, right? So this is out of 4 episodes. The last 4 episodes we had one of shipping, which you could ship beetles, so it could be beetle related.
You ship dung beetles.
Yeah, but I haven't talked about beetles, I don't think, ever really. And then we did 3 episodes basically in a row. So, and part of that is like there are so many. I feel like I could do a year's worth of shows on beetles because there's so many, and they feel
beetles
so
take up a quarter of the population of living animals today.
Living animals.
Living animals. So sea life, terrestrial animals, 25% of it is made up by beetles.
25% of known species are beetles.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say insects, and I was like, yeah, I heard that.
No.
But you were like, all animals? And I was like,
yeah.
What the fart are you talking about, dude?
An insane amount of life that's a beetle. People don't realize fireflies are beetles.
That's true.
Argued with somebody about that recently who didn't.
I bet you did.
Yeah.
I imagine you did. I totally agree with it. I totally
something
see
like
that.
It's just, I mean,
the
trilobite larvae that people see and drool over online that keep emerging because how prehistoric they look. Those are beetles. Females stay cool like that, but they're still beetles.
They are super
think
cool
about things like that.
Yeah. If I thought I could keep them, I would keep those. I would keep those for sure because they're just that prehistoric look is so dope. Yeah. So all those weird looking, I want those. Things where a friend will come over.
Figure out what they ate. Oh, I definitely have them, but
they don't know. Is that like another pill?
That's why nobody has kept them in captivity. First off, it's nearly impossible to find a male. It's very few scientists even have documented males, maybe like 2, if that, from what I recall.
Yeah.
And they have no idea what they actually eat. They think it's a fungus. Not really sure. Nobody's been able to keep any life stage alive. And typically you only find the females. Not one has survived.
And I'm sure that they've done the thing where they just like, hey, we found it here. Let's get 2 shovels full of this land and just take 2 cubic feet and take it back to the lab.
I mean, it's one thing grabbing just an assortment of stuff where you find it. It's another thing being able to keep culturing whatever is actually in that, whether it's a fungus, a bacteria, a nematode that's so microscopic we can't see, but they're consuming somehow, or something else that they have a symbiotic relationship with. There's just too many variables that you would really have to figure out the perfect thing that can satisfy all different areas before you can even start to kind of narrow it down.
So wild. You would think these scientists would just dissect them and get the stomach contents and figure this mess out so I can import tiny nematodes that who knows what the hell they eat.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Now I'm going to be
looking into breeding ladybugs for a bit, and you got to raise aphids to breed ladybugs because that's what the larvae eat. So it's another thing. You need to raise this to feed that. So
yeah, we're ordering some in a couple weeks so that we can just release them in the neighborhood. So because all we have are those crappy orange ones. Those like they're invasive or something. They're these orange ones. They bite. They like squirt this yellow juice on you that smells and it stains whatever it hits.
Yeah, most ladybugs emit some type of chemical defense like that, but I'm not certain which ones are invasive or not. I know there's a few different native species to New York. I haven't looked into too many of the other areas, though.
Now, this is just what I heard. This is like probably 20-year-old information that I heard somewhere. So this is before the internet, so it wasn't like 4chan or something.
Can't confirm it.
It wasn't Reddit. I can neither confirm nor deny. But they're orange. If anybody knows, they're orange. They have one spot on each side, and they suck. So just Google those 3 things. Ladybugs that suck. They're orange.
Sure, it'll come up.
Yep. It'll be like,
ladybugs that suck. You might end up on a different website. So maybe don't look that one
up. Maybe not. This episode keeps taking weird turns. I love it. Pelly showed up too. Tennyson too. Oh my God, we got 8 viewers.
Velvet worms are kind of fragile, but check out my other video that I did. That's my first video actually with Josh. So I explain everything with those guys.
Who was asking about velvet worms?
Pelly?
Yeah, we did a whole episode on velvet worms. It's one of my last hand-drawn thumbnails where we did like Jurassic Park. I did a Jurassic Park thing for them, and I got it to be straight up and down and not upside down. Finally, I edited it. So
Came out great.
it's awesome. So it was upside down for over a year, I think. So, yeah, and I finally figured out how to get it. So it would show up right side up in the thing, and then I would hit, whatever, create, and then it would be upside down. So I was like, forget it. I can't figure it out. I'm done. But those are another prehistoric looking like animal. They've been around for 7 billion years or something.
Oh, yeah.
Been around
They're
forever.
Still have such a primitive neurosystem that a bunch of colleges today are still studying them, trying to figure out. They have a very primitive neurosystem, doesn't rely on the same axes and neurons that we have in our system. So a lot of scientists are still trying to figure out exactly how they're able to work that and function. I have a friend who's also somebody currently trying to study that and figure out what exactly makes them tick.
That's wild. Okay, and now we're getting more into that too. I could do another 2 episodes of velvet worms, just because they're cool.
Amazing guys.
They're so cool, and I know so many people who have failed with them, even after listening to other experts or somewhat experts. So these guys aren't that prolific. So you're not looking at getting a big, massive amount out of them.
No,
unless you had you'd have to have like mega bins, basically, right? Like a separate bin.
You'd have to have either multiple setups or one enormous setup to have a substantial colony to be able to keep producing these, basically to satisfy the demand. Because every time I see these for sale, the unfortunate thing is people snatch them up and then resell them for literally triple the price. And that's ridiculous, especially for an animal that, I hate to say it, 9 out of 10 people are going to take home and it'll die in a couple of weeks because they didn't realize how much these things actually rely on poo and how much they need. They're not going to eat that manure that you get in a bag for your garden. They're not going to eat any worm castings. They're not going to eat back guano. It needs to be fresh turds.
Fresh turds, guys. You heard it. Get your loaf fresh. Don't get that processed loaf.
I mean, who wants a stale loaf anyway? Nobody likes stale bread.
Nobody likes stale bread. Keep it in the paper bag. Now with this, let's get into the poop a little bit. So can you keep it in a it's the weirdest sentence I ever said, I think. So I mean, if that's your kink, no shame, but just don't bring it around me. So you said it has to be fresh. So are there ways to kind of keep it fresh if you're going to be?
I haven't found one yet. I've tried keeping it in buckets. I've tried keeping it in bags, and I definitely can't put this in the fridge or my wife will shoot me.
I was going to say, could you get a mini fridge? And
I mean, that's going to be my next option to try that with, but I just keep it in bags in a cool area in my house, and that's worked all right for about a week or so, and then you really see a bunch of mold start to appear on that, and then it just goes out into the garden. So works out numerous ways for me.
Yeah, either way. But like I was trying to think, because you're talking about going to a horse farm or whatever to get it, or from maybe a barn or whatever. Like that would be just to go there for like 3 apples, 3 road apples, and come home every day. People looking at you weird. Like you could go once a week.
No, I usually scoop a 5-gallon bucket up, and that saves me for about a week. I feed it to the dung beetles, and I've been experimenting with some of my other millipedes, seeing what I could get them to feed. The Zafronia and my Halioglomeris, they both have shocked me and seem to show interest in that, and pretty much no other supplemental food. So hoping I got something going on with that.
That's cool. So yeah, and if you want your detrivores to eat poop, it's got to be their fresh poop, guys. It's got to be funky. Got to be funky. Don't bring it around dry. No, don't do it. The oven baked kiln version. I just had the vision of those 2 ghost beetles again, and it made me laugh in my head. It just popped in my head. I'm gonna have to draw that. We'll draw that and make that the thumbnail for this episode.
There you go. Swap it out.
It's just
only take a year.
Yeah, it's just too funny. Well, I'll have it upside down for a year, and then we'll
There you go.
set it up. Yeah, the velvet worm picture was up there initially. It just was upside down.
Mm-hmm.
So
it worked.
So you can't really store it that well unless I guess you got a refrigerator dedicated to it. I have a mini fridge down here that's dedicated somewhat to animal food, all my Dutch force, but I don't have poop. I don't have any poop in anything yet.
Not yet.
I don't imagine I will. I'm going to throw it out there, and I'm not that dedicated to an animal. I have a hard enough time keeping up with stuff that eats fish flake. So, right.
Maybe these aren't the best for you then.
Yeah, no, I'm out. But if you're into it, if you guys are into it, like this is where to go for the info. So, I think they're fascinating. I will say they're fascinating. It's Animal Planet fascinating for me. It's not like get it in my house fascinating, right? Velvet worms are. I'm going to get velvet worms someday, but I have a lot to do right now. So I don't know if you can see this mess. This weekend should be live. This weekend should be good to go.
Nice.
Hoping. I got a little more rock work to do, and then I got to install all the plants and make sure the waterfall works and get all that done. So by Sunday night, I think I'll be doing some kind of a video. No dung beetles in there, just ant poop and fish poop.
Not yet.
We'll put
ants
dung
will
beetles.
probably eat the beetles anyway.
Sounds like they're pretty self-sufficient. They'd fly out. It's open top, so they would just be like,
leave
I'm out, man. Yeah, I'll be in the bathroom waiting for you. I'm out.
Yeah.
After those Doritos, they would turn me down. They'd be like, no thanks. No thanks, bro.
Spicing up their meal?
No good. Yeah, so they don't turn anything down, right? You haven't seen them except for hognose poop, like carnivore poop.
Well, they go for the ball pythons pretty readily. So it's not that they're really not into carnivore. It's just, I guess they didn't like the hognose. It was
something to do with
dry
the
or something, but I moistened it like I did the other stuff.
Just racist, dude. I just can't believe it exists in the animal kingdom still. But I
got you, Green Monkey.
What's he got? Let me know when some of the ores get old enough. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Jedi Monkey's going to he just wants to eat one. I wouldn't eat one of these guys.
Crunchy snacks.
Something that literally eats poop, I feel like is a bad choice for your diet.
No, there's definitely animals out there that eat them.
Yeah, but not a person. I don't know. I guess you could, but I don't know.
Some people pay for that sort of thing.
You would on ladybugsuck.com. Don't go there. Don't go there. It's fascinating enough that I want some dead specimens. I think they would be really cool pinned. They're very pretty. I think they're probably in most people's collections for pinned insects.
Actually, Green Monkey, shoot me a message on Facebook. I think I have a pair that I could send you within a week or so.
That are deceased?
Yeah, they're already deceased. They're from my last breeding group.
Yeah,
I know I have them tucked away somewhere. I haven't unpacked most of this stuff still from when I moved. So give me a week or so to get my stuff out, and I'm pretty sure I have a pair that I could sell.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'll hook you up with another kid that does see if he wants them. He's an entomology student right now, actually, and he pins insects. He's really, really good at pinning insects. So I'll see if he's interested too.
Josh?
Josh, yeah. Josh, I can't think of his last name.
Starts with an S, right? I can't think of it either.
Kristinat. His last name. Yeah. He's got he's been on the show a couple times. There might be another Josh Suds, I think. Might be who you're thinking of.
There's Josh Suds, but there's also a different Josh. We might be talking about the same one that does all the pinning.
There's a lot of Joshes in
starting to realize that actually.
Yeah, it's weird. I didn't have any growing up, and now they were all over the country checking out insects, and now we're all coming together. So there's I wanted to do an episode, the Council of Joshes, and talk about the hobby as a whole, like invertebrates as a whole.
That'd be funny.
There's 6 of us, I think, that I was reaching out to.
And a different Josh that specializes in something else.
Yep.
Battle it out.
All mine is just talking. That's it. That's what I specialize in. Menagerie brought her kids to this show. Oh my gosh, Menagerie. They're teenagers. They're fine. They're already looking at this stuff online. Um, awful. What questions do you guys have that I missed already? Because we've been on some tangents, but that's okay. That's what Kevin and I do. Primarily, that's what I do. But she'll beat you with what? Can't
Is that
see
a loaf?
anything. With a loaf of bread? I don't know what that is. A potato? It's a potato or a muffy. Like a pumpkin muffin topper. She'll beat you with a potato. I don't know.
Muffin
I
top.
don't know, man. The moon keeps coming and going. Yeah, don't beat anybody with a muffin top. Do you guys have those out there? Are they different shapes?
Muffin tops?
Yeah.
Talking about like on women or like the food?
Talking about the food.
I mean, we got both out here.
I mean, yeah, we got them everywhere. They're different shapes, but we got them everywhere.
And shapes, colors, all over.
How crunchy are the Vindex?
Super crunchy, dude. Their shells are really tough.
Are they another one that's like bulletproof, basically? Or
In terms of size, yeah, like they're really tough. I just picking them up, they're so rigid. There's no give to their shell like some of the other beetles. When you pick them up, you can kind of feel the underside of their abdomen, like it'll flex in a bit. There's nothing on these guys. They're just little tanks all over. It's just so heavily armored. And so I assume it's because of the rough terrain that they actually have to dig through.
Is that bulldozer build?
Yeah.
By Cat. I gotta catch this moth. Forbidden Jawbreakers. Awful. Just gotta be the worst flavor. Like, that's gotta be like a Jelly Belly flavor. One of those gross ones.
Poo flavored Jawbreaker.
Right? With legs. With
like M&M's. They got a crunchy shell, but they're brown in the middle.
Different kind of brown. Different kind of brown. Gross. Gross. I knew this episode would be gross, and I was excited for it. How long do you think it'll be before they're readily available as captive bred, or is the effort just too much to really?
In terms of like on a bigger scale?
Yeah, were they more readily available? I think it'll take a while, yeah.
I don't really see too many people attempting these. Like a lot of people have reached out to me. They say, how do you get them to breed? What can I do? Then when I tell them the amount of effort, that kind of dwindles away almost instantly. Like I haven't talked to anyone else who is trying to breed them or has bred or is continuing to breed them. Like I talked with Steven. He did that. He's not interested in breeding them anymore. I haven't talked to Oren about it, but I'm assuming he no longer works with them either because he hasn't offered them up at all in some time. So right now, as far as I know, I'm the only one actively breeding these.
My impression with Oren is most of the stuff he gets to breed is like to see if he can do it.
Yeah, and then it's on to the next project.
Yeah.
Which I kind of have that same mentality, but I also like continuing to study them while I'm breeding them, seeing what else I can do to get them to live better. So that's a big part of where we differ. I
mean, I applaud him for that to an extent. Like, yeah, it's just a different mentality to it because your keeping is more dedicated to the individuals and keeping them and studying them on hand. And he's like really focused on the husbandry in general and trying to unlock it.
He's more of
as many as possible.
On to the next. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine it's an obsession. There are so many invertebrates to try to like enhance the lives of because he's helping everybody keep them. So that's good. And then you've got guys like yourself and a bunch of others who are taking that knowledge and then turning it into condensing it down, like to make it more intense and more hands-on.
Trying to bring the actual science and the explanation behind how these animals are able to do what they do. It's more of, instead of it's just, well, it works if you keep them on this, they'll breed. It's, okay, I take it to, how do I get it to as big as the wild caught specimens were. How do I get them to look as vibrant as the wild caught specimens did before they were produced by everybody in the hobby for the past 10 years? You know, like
Yeah.
the Claddocricus, for example, they're so much smaller in captivity than the original wild caughts that were brought in over a decade ago. Like those animals were regularly hitting 8 inches. There was somebody who reportedly had an 11-inch female, but he refused to put a ruler on it. So I'm going to call bullshit on that one. But it was still an impressive size animal nonetheless. Whereas the largest I've ever produced, coming in about just under 8 inches, it was like 7 7/8 long, somewhere around that. And
what are these now?
Claddocricus Philippine giant blue. These are millipedes.
Okay, all right. I'm like, I
saying
have no
about
idea.
how I was just saying how the wild caughts were so much larger than the captive, and that's basically what I'm trying to do with everything I breed. How do I take these captive animals and keep them as vibrant and as big as their wild counterparts, instead of, as the generations go on, they seem to get smaller and duller with time.
Yeah, and I've seen that too. And some of it's probably inbreeding, some of it's probably whatever they're missing from the wild. There's got to be components we can't replicate or won't. Like, it's just going to be so hard to replicate what they have in the wild, no matter how hard we try. Like things like flake soil, making sure the hygrometers, stuff like that, to make sure that it's all the parameters are there is great. But the flake soil doesn't have. It's not region specific, right?
No, it's rotting wood. Every place is rotting wood. You're trying to recreate nature as well as you can, and then I keep adding different things and every batch of flake soil I make, I put aside some of it and do all different additives into it just for my personal stash. And these are my experimental tubs that I use in different species that I have that are a little trickier to keep, just because I want to see how they'll do and I want to see what's going to come of it.
Yeah, and that's good. Like that's what's driving the hobby in a good way. In a good way. There's plenty of drive in the hobbies, but it's not all. Some of it's pretty drunk. Some of it's pretty drunk driving. Like consequences, bird.
Forget it.
Yeah. It's just a school zone. No, sorry. That's probably insensitive. I'm not trying to be insensitive to anybody who had a drunk driver drive through their kid's school or something, but making fun of drunk drivers, that's all. Not condoning.
Drive through their kids' school.
It's the shit they eat in the wild. Yep, Moon bringing it all full circle. Yeah, there's so many species.
I think that was quoted from The Lion King.
I was trying to come up with a poop word that rhymed with life so I could say circle of life, like do that thing. And I can't. If you can think of a poo word that rhymes with life, let me know. I can't get over the nutrients that are still left in it, in the fresh dung for all like, flies, there's other animals that for sure that take advantage of it, but like 40,000 species of beetle, can't be wrong. Millipedes, you've got all kinds of invertebrates that take advantage of it. There are vertebrates. I know birds use it. Things use it as a nest material or whatever, or feeding grounds.
I mean, there's a lot of even reptiles that practice fecophilia, where the offspring. Koalas also practice this, where the offspring eat the parent's feces to establish their own gut biomes. A lot of things rely on shit, whether or not we know it. Which
we just haven't found out yet. Yeah. Or you try to stop them, like dogs. I don't know if other domesticated animals do this, but they'll they eat their babies' poop. They just take care of it. You got to keep them clean. So I don't know if there's any other benefit to it, but yeah, koalas are pretty gross in general. Surprisingly gross. Wolfman Jack. Andrew Sensky showed up. I compared everybody in the YouTube family of, well, not everybody, but my close friends in the YouTube family to existing celebrities. And Andrew Sensky was Wolfman Jack.
Full chlamydia.
Yep. What's that? They do. They have a lot of chlamydia, those koalas.
It's like 80%, I think.
80% have chlamydia?
I think that's the number. 80%.
It's just like an old folks home. It's just like an old folks home out there in the outback.
Just raw dogging it.
We all know that's a thing, right? That old folks homes are rife with STDs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. As long as we're all clear, that's a thing. I just can't get over the circle of life. I keep seeing that scene of Bear Grylls in the savannah or whatever, and he's got a fresh elephant loaf, and he's just
squeezing it out.
Yeah, it was horrifying. Yeah.
I don't think I could do that.
He seemed to get pretty sick off of it. So, but he lived. So, I mean, hooray. I guess you could do that. Koalas are rage machines. We're off on koala land now, so.
I don't think they said rage machines.
You did. Oh, rape machines. Sorry. There's some rage in there. There's definitely rage in there.
Villages in Florida. In between the koalas and the dung beetles, things just get crazy.
Koala's one of those dead ends, those genetic dead ends. Like, I think evolutionary, they should, koalas and pandas should just see ya. Anything that relies on like one specific thing as their food source and there's no nutritional value in it, like,
hey, they can get nutritional value.
Barely. Like, if they eat 100 pounds of it a day, yes, they can. But like koalas off of bamboo are constantly on the verge of starvation. Like, they can't
also
live a
sleep
day.
like 20 hours a day, 22 hours a day, something.
Yeah. Useless. I just unerringly, I hate a panda to a weird level. Like, it's definitely a weird level. I can't stand a panda. Can't stand you, panda.
I was at an AZA conference a few years back at San Diego Zoo. And they gave us like a private tour because the zoo shut down to guests. It's just the AZA members. So we're walking through and they have a decent sized koala exhibit and not one of them was active. And the keeper was like, yeah, maybe when we first bring the stuff out, they'll come down and eat. Usually they don't. They just sit there. Then every now and then they let out some random noise. It's like this guttural growl thing.
Yeah, they sound like goats, kind of like, why? Why do you make that noise? What is the point of that? Apparently ladybugs have STDs too. So there you go. Most STD infected species on Earth. See? And it's a beetle.
Beetles everywhere.
They're hogging all of the attention, and I think it's ridiculous. They need to
just have the best stats.
And they are the derpiest creatures on Earth. Like, I don't know how there's so many. They are so dumb.
They can't climb for shit. They didn't have those little hooks. They just stumble and fall everywhere. Ever watch a beetle try to walk on a surface? It's like watching a drunk toddler. They just like bumble about. They're not.
I had a video that I posted, like a 15-second video of it. I think it's one of the Goliath beetles. I think it was a female at Brookfield Zoo, and is trying to get. They have that, that fake rock-looking food dish for lizards or whatever, and it's smooth on the inside.
Yep.
So they put a shrimp in there for him, right? Like a cocktail shrimp, I guess. I didn't know they ate shrimp, but he's trying to get it, and he can't get in. Like, his little claw scrabbers are just like, they can't hook anything.
Yeah. No,
so finally, and I'm in the video like, this is the dumbest animal on the planet. Like, how did evolution make so many beetles and they're all idiots? So finally he moves the dish. He literally pulled the dish to him and then grabbed the shrimp and hooked it and brought it in. And I was like, okay, I take it back. That was pretty smart. Use your bronze over brains. And you got
Bear Grylls that. He improvised, adapted, and overcame.
And he survived. Yeah. So I was just like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It took him 15 minutes, but he did it. They only know how to walk backwards. What? Armadillo leprosy. Watch the battles bumble around all the time. The beetles. I think it's supposed to be beetles. Damn, autocorrect. It is. I just don't know. Like, even your dung beetles are pretty dumb, right? Like, that. You think that adaptation is really smart. It's really smart to have that adaptation to put their babies far apart in a food source that they collected themselves, and take advantage of that. Like I would assume poop's a deterrent to get at a grub.
I mean, maybe it is, but then again, think about how many things are attracted to just gnarly, funky smells. So
Yeah, like you said, dogs are number one.
yeah, on one end, like we are repelled by the smell, but most of the animal kingdom doesn't really seem to be put off by it. They're usually drawn to stench. So I don't see it working in that regard.
I don't either, but I like that part. That's why I don't think it boggles me that there's ones that just lay them in the poop and leave, like right in the turd. Like there's so many things that could go wrong, unless those are ones that are laying like 5,000 eggs.
Those ones
that makes sense.
Yeah, those ones would lay more, but I still don't think it's that high of a egg count on those ones. But they do space it out among different patties. When I lived in Colorado, I'm not sure the exact species I found, but usually in the fields where the bison were at, I would flip over a patty trying to look for the Vindex actually, and I would usually find 3 or 4 grubs inside one patty. I never collected them because I wasn't sure what they were, and they weren't what I was looking for. But every time I flipped it, it would a maximum of 4, and those were on the really big patties. Otherwise, maybe 2 or 3. So even in that aspect, it's not many, and they know enough to keep them spread about.
So they're still scattering them all over the place. So it's not like they're like, all right, here's my 75 eggs. Good luck, babies. One will make it. No, probably not. Probably
it's like, not. Maybe 1 out of my 20. If not, oh well.
Right.
And that's kind of how it seems when it comes to dung beetles.
There's just, and it sounds like there's just so many adaptations among those species, like for how to get their eggs out and how to get everything together. What, dude? I fed you. You can't be on the show again. I'm not feeding your poop to dung beetles. It's probably pretty desiccated.
The playoff.
Right? We use that one that's not bad. Like it doesn't have chemicals and stuff. So, but it would be desiccated. It wouldn't be good for the guys.
Gotta hydrate it.
Yeah, right. Rehydrate it. We get a whole system going. Little humidor.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Humidor.
Set up like a mushroom grow tent style thing, just keeping your poo in trays nice and moist.
Like pull it out. Oh no, this is yesterday's. I gotta go for the old stuff. It's aged.
A fine wine.
I wonder if you could get a used humidor on like Facebook Marketplace for cheap. Try that out for your poop storage. Might work.
I don't know. I feel like you get more moldy in a humid environment like that.
You think so? The humidity would add to it?
I feel like it might mold quicker than that, but I don't know.
Makes sense.
Thought about
that makes sense.
Getting some of it and then just trying to rehydrate it and see how that goes. But just from how the rabbit turds kind of dehydrate on their own, if they've been left out, if they've just been sitting there for a decent long time, doesn't really matter if I rehydrate them. The older stuff will still get left behind for the newer stuff.
It makes sense because it's it probably compacts or loses some kind of a vital nutrient.
Oh yeah, definitely.
System to it, yeah. So it's all like I don't know, whatever they're looking for isn't there anymore.
That's what I meant. That or something died off in it.
It's weird that they're picky about it. It's weird that they would be like, no, thank you. I turned my nose up. Yeah,
it's not stinky enough.
Right? No, thank you. I don't like mine crispy style. So.
Original recipe.
These have been oh my god, original recipe, extra crispy, gravy. These are just awful. These visuals I'm getting are just awful. Except for this ghost one is the best. I hope you guys have the same awesome mental image I have. So it would Demi more like with her head back, like she's really into it.
Those little yellow pom-pom antennas just back and forth.
Yeah. She's at pottery class again? What the hell? What's the deal, Demi? We got enough vases. They're all sideways and shit.
Starting to suspect something.
Debbie Moore, if you're watching, for $50, I'll stop making fun of you. I'm that cheap. She's probably not watching. I'm gonna guess she's not watching. None of her
Guy
friends.
can dream.
Maybe she's still a looker. I don't have any more questions. Does anybody else have any more questions about keeping these fascinating? They're like regrettably fascinating to me. So, like, I want them to be more boring, and they're not.
No,
Evolution isn't caused by intelligence. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that there's no nutrient that would just evaporate off, because nutrients are typically too dense to just evaporate. If anything, they dehydrate and could oxidize, which most things oxidize. You bite into an apple, it goes from white to brown because it's oxidizing, and that alters the nutrient content. But as far as them just evaporating, no, that isn't possible.
I think drying it out, though, would change the chemical makeup of some of the nutrients, right? No?
Drying it out, not really. It would kill off whatever some of whatever bacteria is in there, just because that's how bacteria is. If it hits a certain point, some will survive, some will die. So just like certain things need to be kept moist. Haven't tried bird poop. I don't feel like trying to collect my parrot's turds just because bird poop's kind of runny. So I just leave that alone.
Damn cloacas. So is tortoise poop, is there? Or no, you got a tortoise. That thing's laying like bales.
Redfoot tortoise. It's kind of like a horse turd.
It's like a hay bale behind him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good size shit every time.
That's wild.
Sucks when she just plops her shell down on it. Then I gotta scrub her down.
It smells. Tortoise poop. Just
I know immediately when I go into the reptile room if she took a shit or not. Just it adds a whole nother funk between the horse turds and the beetle tubs and her thing. Yeah.
I can just imagine that like you could differentiate like a sommelier. Oh
yeah, I sit there with a sifter, put my nose in it, get a good whiff.
Just you got it in a glass.
God,
the shit malier. Not good. When I was working at a wine, Cooper's Hawk, I don't know if you guys have those by you yet, but it's like it's a restaurant chain that they make their own wine, and it's okay. But they send us to a wine tasting class kind of thing. So I keep forgetting I have these. So I'm so gangsta. Let me tell you, the way I say it is so gangsta too. So yeah, probably not.
In terms of mammal poo being acidic, toxic, whatever, I was talking earlier about how I wouldn't feed my own turds because I'm on medication. So right there, I'm gonna guess it may or may not be toxic. I'd rather not find out since I have other turds available. But also I said there is reports of a dude who was feeding his own turds to his beetles and had no ill effect with that. So judging between that report, which still is anecdotal at best, judging between that and then the different species of animal that I've fed to mine, I'm going to say in terms of pH, anything being too acidic or alkaline, I don't think that's really a cause for concern. I mean, once everything gets processed through, it's ending up in a hydrochloric acid bath anyway. Doesn't matter what animal, it's just whether or not, if it's a ruminant, it's passing through different chambers and going through a different process and then coming back up as cud and then chewed back down. So it's a little more processed, but still it's being mixed with hydrochloric acid no matter what.
Yep. Jedi's got a good point. We eat so much garbage.
All the preservatives and stuff we eat as well. Yeah. I mean, definitely not worth the risk.
Yeah, it's just too much. Like, at the very least, it's not as nutritious. Mm-hmm. Unless you're like a vegan, maybe. I feel like I'd rather eat a vegetarian's poo than a carnivore's poo. I think if it was down to like you have to choose one, like at gunpoint choose one, I'd be like, give me that vegetarian one.
I mean, from the animals I keep going by the smells, the vegetarians are usually less smelly than the carnivores. Like when I kept monitors, oh my God, that was brutal. Go in and even the green tree monitors, those guys, like, yeah,
Like get
it
rid of
was
them.
not good, especially because they also, I used to give them invertebrates and then I give them chicks and then mice. So it was really rough.
Like the best. I mean, who doesn't like those things? Come on, man. Come on, man. Cool Ranch Dorito flavoring. They have that in a shaker now. You can put that on just about anything you want because it's in a shaker now, the seasoning.
I'm
So,
good.
yeah, I mean, I would just, that, no. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
that
do
motion, right?
That was bad. That was bad. Sorry. This is the worst episode I ever did. Holy shit.
Oh,
Oh, for my younger audience, that just means nothing. I was shaking glitter. It's just glitter. Now I have
dairy glitter, maybe.
God, awful. We do have some youngins that watch this show sometimes. So I gotta kind of watch it. Jose Avila's kid is like 9 years old. She might be 10 now, but yeah, she's a sub. She's got a bit good education, I guess. Yeah, you guys don't have anything else? We don't have any other questions? This is a lot of poop. There's a lot of poop. Oh, Tennyson's laughing. He's like 15. That's good. He got the joke. Oh, man. 10K. Started calling him 10K. That's not even, I'm not the first one to come up with that. Yeah, Tennyson, you count as a youngin. I think, yes, we just established that.
Yeah.
Very
youngin.
So yeah, medication, you wouldn't want to do it if something on medication. So if you're medicating a tortoise or something, you want to take a break off of that.
Yeah, I would advise. I actually had one of my wife, one of her friend's horses was on some antiparasitics, and I didn't want to risk that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Once I get these guys going again, I have my own little substantial colony. I might set off a separate experimental tub just to see how they're affected by that.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. I like the idea that you keep experimenting with it just to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, or not to see what happens, but see like, better practices. So,
yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like they're beetles, we can try to figure out a couple of them, see if we can do better, or see if it's a catastrophe. Then you can stop other people from doing it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Luch, you should feed these beetles your monitor poop. Luch has a lot of monitors, so I don't know what a lot is, like 10.
No, he's got a nice looking water monitor.
Yeah, and some really cool setups. So I'm trying to get him to film them so I can have monitors on the show. Because I'm fascinated. That's like what happened to velociraptors as far as I'm concerned. So I know that they're ostriches or something now, or chickens.
Oh no, I see turkeys crossing the street, and the first thing on my mind are little raptors. Just
really?
The way they move, yeah. They look like this scene at the second Jurassic Park, I think, where they're running through the tall grass.
Oh,
and
that's
you just
terrifying.
see them standing there. That's exactly how they look to me because they cross the street with that same like momentum. Just
I can't walk in tall grass anymore thanks to that scene. Like I get like looking for wakes in the grass.
Yeah, right.
What do you do? What do you do? You're in the middle of grass. You can't like dive. You can't. You're done. Mm-hmm. It's over for you. No matter what it is. It could be like hamsters. You're done. Oh, yeah. It's over. It's over. Yeah, guys. Hey, Kevin, thanks for coming on. Thanks for opening the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again.
For those of you that missed his last appearance, he didn't appear. So that was the joke that we did this time. We flipped the script. Because, it's hard work working. So I've almost missed episodes from being asleep. But I get it. It's fine. We had a good talk that night. We talked about crazy random stuff that night. So it was good.
Well, it's fun.
Just as many viewers. You didn't watch that episode, did you? Did you watch the?
No. Well, I have to rewatch a few. I rewatched a couple. I haven't rewatched everything. It's on a little too late for me to catch it live usually. So
I get that a lot. So I have to wait till my kid goes to bed. Otherwise, she'd be down here half the time like, Daddy, are you done?
Later, Luch.
What about Luch?
I thought Luch was saying goodnight.
Yeah. Your boys have a good night. My boys have a good night. Got you. All right. So, yeah, thank you. I'm going to do my closeout, and I'll be in touch to see if I can get some of those specimens sent to, or see what you want to charge for those for Josh Christinet. So,
Really?
Yeah, he's coming on again soon, too, I think. So, all right, bro. Thank you so much for coming on. I had a blast.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, great time as usual.
Anytime. So, take care of your poo, all right?
Will do. Have a good night, guys.
Guys, everybody poops. It's okay. It's funny, but it's serious too. Okay. Don't feed them your medication. So, guys, next week, speaking of Tennyson and the youngins, next week we're gonna have Tennyson on. He is one of the young folks in the hobbies that is crushing it. So I want to have a roundtable with the youngins here soon. But there are 3 that I have in mind that I want to keep bring on the show and talk about the hobby and how it's going to change because they are the next generation. So anyway, Tennyson Kingsley is going to be on. We're going to talk about how classification of animals now is all jacked up and how we can pay more attention to it and the benefits that it has. So we're going to do that. We have a Patreon. If you don't know, it is patreon.com/isobuddies. Every little bit helps. So for less than the cost of a coffee a month, you could make this show better. I'm just saying. You're here. It's an hour and a half. You know, we're entertaining you. You know, I'm just saying. We can keep doing it. We put our money towards good things. We have some announcements to make. So we're going to make those on the webpage. I've got some charities that I want to get involved with. So if you're into that, pay attention to that. I'm going to have some stuff up there soon. We also, I already lost my train of thought. Charities. Oh, another charity thing I want to do, kind of charity. If you have a small business and you have some references, if I haven't worked with you in the past, I'm going to be doing some like commercial spots, like infomercial. You can come on and be a part of it. It's not live. It's just us having a conversation. You don't even have to be on screen. You can have a black screen or just have a camera on your bugs or whatever, your product. I don't care. Or I will do it for you. You kind of tell me about your business. I'll put it in my words. We'll make it a little fun and it'll be very respectful. So I want to do that to promote people's businesses. No cost yet. No, there's no cost. I just want to do it. The benefit is that if they Google your business, this will come up in probably the top 10 items. Okay, so for example, Luch is going to be doing my merch. So we're going to be doing one for Luch for sure. I want to get some merch in hand first and then be able to show it off. But we're going to be doing a couple other ones for some of the big names. Russ is one of the ones we're going to do one for. But if you are interested, I really want this to take off. I only have a couple people booked really so far. So that are committing. So if you know someone or you are someone who wants to get involved in something like this and take advantage of it, reach out. Okay, reach out. You can do it here in a message. You can email me at isobuddies@outlook.com. I don't ever check it, but you can do that. And that's it, guys. That's what I got. So I love you guys. Thanks for coming. Please check out the Patreon if you don't. It'll really help make this thing take off. So, and then this weekend, maybe expect a video update on this guy right here. Okay. We'll talk to you later, guys. Love you. Best audience in the internet. And we're just going to